Ladies and gentlemen, the world is changing right in front of our eyes. In Tianjin, at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, a picture emerged that might define the next century. Three of the most powerful leaders of our time, China's Xi Jinping, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and India's Narendra Modi stood shoulder to shoulder, sending a message not just to their people, but to the entire planet. The global order that we have known for decades is shifting and perhaps crumbling. Xi Jinping, yet assertive, presented his vision of a new world order. He spoke about fairness, about justice, about the rights of nations to chart their own path without being dictated to by any one superpower. But beneath his carefully chosen words, there was a clear signal. He was telling Washington, he was telling Brussels, and he was telling every capital aligned with the West that the days of U.S. dominance are being challenged by a new axis of power. Think about what this moment represents. For decades, the United States and its Western allies have set the rules of the game, whether it was trade agreements, financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank, or military alliances like NATO. But now, here in Asia, we are witnessing the rise of something different. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the BRICS grouping, and informal trilaterals like Russia, India, China, building alternative structures. And the symbolism of Modi, Putin, and Xi together at this summit is nothing short of historic. Why is this happening now? Because the world has reached a breaking point. The Ukraine war has shown the West's military and economic pressure. The trade wars between China and America have exposed vulnerabilities. Sanctions on Russia have pushed Moscow closer to Beijing. And India, a country with its own strategic autonomy, has found itself carefully balancing, sometimes standing with Washington, sometimes standing with Moscow, sometimes directly negotiating with Beijing. At Tianjin, Xi's message was bold. He spoke of new financial systems that could rival the dollar. He spoke of innovation in artificial intelligence, in space exploration, even lunar research areas once dominated by the United States. And behind him sat Putin, ready to attack the West's militarization, and Modi, representing one of the fastest-growing economies in the world. The symbolism was that Asia, Eurasia, the global South are no longer followers. They are contenders. But let's pause for a moment and understand India's role here. Modi was not simply a participant in Xi's show of power. He was also the voice of caution. When he spoke about connectivity, respecting sovereignty, it was a direct, though polite, message to China regarding its Belt and Road Initiative. Because let's be honest, while India may sit next to Xi and Putin, it has deep concerns about China's strategic projects that pass through disputed territory. This balancing act is what makes India so critical in this global puzzle. Now, imagine you are sitting in Washington, London, or Brussels, watching this summit unfold. What do you see? You see your biggest competitors, your biggest rivals, forming a front. You see an alternative order being built outside of your influence, okay? And you realize, for the first time in decades, that the monopoly over global governance is cracking. That is why this story is not just a diplomatic headline, it's a turning point. And yet, beneath the smiles, the handshakes, and the metaphors like the dragon and elephant must come together. There are deep fractures too. India and China have unresolved border tensions. Russia and China may be strategic partners, but both know they are competing for influence in Central Asia, even within the SCO. Smaller members fear being dominated by these giants. So the real question is, can this axis sustain itself, or is it just a show of convenience against the West? This is where Xi's genius or his gamble comes in. By presenting himself as the architect of a new world order, he is trying to lead, not just partner. He wants Beijing to be the hub of a new financial system, a new technological ecosystem, a new security arrangement. He wants to use the global South's dissatisfaction with the West to elevate China's role as leader of the 21st century. And Putin, facing isolation from the West, has no choice but to embrace this. For him, being flanked by Xi and Modi gives legitimacy. It shows Russia is not a pariah, that it still has powerful friends. For Modi, the calculation is different. He knows India cannot afford to be locked into just one camp. It must play both sides. By appearing here, by sitting alongside Xi and Putin, he sends a message that India is an independent pole in the multipolar world respected by both Washington and Beijing. So, what happens next? We may see a gradual shift of economic activity towards alternative institutions, trade in non-dollar currencies, more cooperation in critical technologies, even shared security exercises. And if that continues, we will one day look back at Tianjin and say, this was the summit where the cracks in U.S. hegemony widened beyond repair. But let's not underestimate the West's response. America has already begun to reinforce its Indo-Pacific strategy, building stronger ties with Japan, Australia, and yes, Korea itself through the Quad. Europe is increasingly wary of China, and sanctions regimes are not going away. This means the world is moving into an era not of one global system, but of competing systems, a world of multiple networks where power is fragmented. And in this fragmentation, nations like India will be the deciding factor. When she stood there flanked by Putin and Modi, the imagery was clear. 3 civilizations, 3 powers, 3 leaders challenging the idea that one nation can dictate to the rest. And in that moment, whether you agree with them or not, whether you trust their intentions or not, you had to admit, the world is not what it used to be. Friends, this is why Tianjin matters. This is why Xi's push for a new global order is not just rhetoric, but a calculated step. This is why Modi's presence, Putin's endorsement, and Xi's vision together form a powerful signal. The 21st century will not be decided by Washington alone. It will be contested, negotiated, and shaped in Beijing, in Moscow, in New Delhi, and beyond. And we are witnessing the beginning of that struggle right now. The story is not finished. The alliances may shift, the rivalries may deepen, and unexpected crises may emerge. But one thing is certain. The summit in Tianjin will be remembered as the moment when the world saw, perhaps for the first time, that the U.S.-led order has real formidable challengers standing side by side.